All right, we're live, and we are here for another episode of an American Werewolf in New Jersey podcast. I've got Ryan here with me again today, and I've got Knight here from the Night Watch Zone, and we are once again talking John Carpenter, and we have moved now to part 2 of the Apocalypse trilogy, Prince of Darkness. So, shall we get to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we're talking some Carpenter. We're talking Prince of Darkness from 1987. So I guess Carpenter had 5 years between The Thing. I'm sure that took a lot out of him. And so finally he decides to come back to this apocalyptic vision. Another possibility, we talked last week as to whether or not these are from the same universe. And maybe one of these days, and I was thinking this, we'll be able to get back to a con, sometime soon, maybe not this summer. I don't know if they're going to happen, if things are going to be opened up again. And, maybe one of us will have the opportunity to approach him. About 5 years ago, I was in Philadelphia and I went to the Wizard World Con. And I think it was like $50 to get in. So it was a one-day thing. And this was the same year that Guardians of the Galaxy was the big thing, the first Guardians movie. So they were all there. And there was like an extra $80 if you wanted to get in there and see the Guardians cast. And I wasn't that crazy about it, or I wasn't $80 crazy about it. But there were some other people there that had some stands, and like Lou Ferrigno was there, and a couple of members of the Walking Dead, and I think Christopher Lloyd was there. And it was maybe $20 or $30 to go meet them. And John Carpenter was there. And John Carpenter was just out in public, and he had a booth there, and he's just sitting there. And there's a couple of people, but I think most of the people being, the current eventers, they were there mostly to see the Guardians, and, parents were there with their kids. And I met this one guy, and he's like, my son's nickel and diming me to death, but he wants to see Batista too. So, this sort of thing. And, I was debating back and forth that I want to go see John Carpenter, and of course I did, but I ended up not doing it. And it is like one of the larger regrets that I have in terms of, that's a huge regret.
Wow.
And if there's what am I going to say? I can't, sit up there and talk to him for 30 minutes and just pull up a chair and, start podcasting right there.
Unless you get lucky, Speaking of Carpenter, this is kind of related. I think I told you once, a friend of my brother-in-law's, in Cherry Hill, they have the Monster Mania Con.
Yeah.
And one year Malcolm McDowell was there.
Okay.
And it was, but he went, this friend of my brother-in-law's went on a Sunday. It was raining. The weather was crappy. There was hardly anybody there. And nobody was at Malcolm McDowell's table. He went over and hung out with him and just talked to him for like an hour. Just hung out with Malcolm McDowell at his table because nobody came to his table. And, I seem to remember one year at the Monster Mania Con, John Carpenter was there, but I think I missed him because I went on the Sunday. He was only there like on the Friday and Saturday, and they had like a Q&A. They had a Q&A with him and stuff like that.
A panel, yeah. Okay.
Yep. I would have liked to have seen that, because he's so just knowledgeable about everything.
Yeah,
he's so steeped in. Well, I mean, he's been in the movie business for decades, and he's just so steeped in everything, and it's just like. I imagine talking to him would just be like talking to this like this wise kind of professor where you're just getting all this cool stuff from him, all these stories and just all this about filmmaking in general and about his own movies and stuff like that.
He also talks very like just plain, like he doesn't really talk up to people. He really talks at their level, because he's just kind of looks at himself as just not a big thing, not as big of a thing as he is, which is really cool.
Yeah.
See, you guys are saying all this, but what would have happened if I had gone up there, me, running these long form conversations, which we all do. Anybody that's into podcasting is clearly, pushing back against the texting language, and we want to get back to some long form chatting. I get up there and be like,
here's a rule.
Yeah, but here's what I wanted to say. What I probably would have said is that, it's a great honor to me. I've been a fan my whole life. It's a pleasure. I didn't have anything for him to sign or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I don't even think this was before phones had become cameras.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little bit before that, so I probably wouldn't have gotten a good shot or anything like that. Ryan, that light is killing us. It would have, it probably just would have been a quick blurb and then, kind of moved on. I don't know if I would have, tried to start up if I would have had the, the gumption to really start up a real conversation with him. Although, who knows? Maybe I would have. I don't know. It would depend on how
sometimes you never know.
Yeah.
It's weird when you meet those famous people in things like that, like at Monster ManiaCon. I'll just use that because that's the one I've been to. And it's weird when you meet them up close and in person, because for some reason you're like, you don't know what to say to them.
That's right.
They're just people like you and me, really. And when you see them in person, it kind of strips away the mystique. Yeah. And but when you get up there, you're just like, like you say something stupid. Like when
you really do.
Yeah, like I think, I'm just using this as an example because I made an idiot of myself. And not that this is any big real horror cred, but when I met Christy Swanson, the real Buffy the Vampire Slayer, by the way, and she still looks good, but I was just like we got a picture, and I was just like, I introduced myself. I was like, you're still the best Buffy, just like something like that, It's just like dumb stuff. And whereas you'll get other people who will I'm sure John Carpenter gets swarmed by like movie nerds who just come up on him and boom, 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 and bombard him with stuff that he already knows, but he humors them like, it's weird when you meet those famous people because you're just like if I met Carpenter, I would probably do the same thing.
Me too.
I wouldn't know what to say to him.
Me too, man. Seriously, I'd be so starstruck. I'd look like a total idiot. And it actually happened to me when we went to the last HorrorCon, which was right before the pandemic. Coriander and we went, and I met Ken Furry from Dawn of the Dead. And I went up to him. He seemed really, really cool. I made an idiot of myself. I mean, I said, I was a fan of yours, and I just kind of, I just couldn't keep going, and I could tell that I just struck out. But at that same con, like not even 10, 15 minutes later, I met Kane Hodder from Friday the 13th.
He's in a lot of those.
Yeah, and I met Adrian King from the original Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay.
And both of them helped me to be able to talk, and I actually sat with both of them. So it's funny, you never know how it can go, Yeah,
Kane Hodder's at all those things. He's there like every year. Actually, this guy I know got the same guy who met Malcolm McDowell. He has a prop Jason machete. And every Monster ManiaCon or where any con he went to, he got it signed by every Jason actor.
Wow.
He got everybody. He got Kurzinger. He got Hodder. He got that Steve Dash guy. He got everybody. It was really cool. That was like one of his goals was to get this machete, this prop machete. So that was pretty neat. But I was bummed because right before the pandemic, I was going to go to Monster ManiaCon because Danny Trejo was going to be there.
Oh, wow.
And I was so pumped. I was so pumped about meeting Danny Trejo, and then they canceled it. And I'm like, man. So I don't even know when they're going to have it again. But,
Well, hopefully, it seems like things pretty much across the country are starting to open up again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to happen this summer. I mean, because summer's kind of already here. Not quite officially, but it's pretty much here. I think the cinemas are starting to open up again.
Yeah, the movies
which
are
is
open.
A good sign. Now people are talking about A Quiet Place, the sequel. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Hopefully we'll get back to some cons soon, and maybe we'll get another swing at it. It's a tough thing because what do you qualify as a successful conversation in terms, because you can say, well, because sometimes you find it difficult to relate to these people as everyday people, but you don't want to come up to them and talk about the weather.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, sure. Some guy,
But I think sometimes these people appreciate normal conversation. Not like that, not as banal as the weather, but appreciate. I'm sure they get tons and tons of people fawning over them constantly. So I'm sure it's a breath of fresh air if you're just like, hey, you're a movie fan, or you find some kind of way to connect on another level rather than just, we're not worthy kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, if there's another chance, I think I'm going to ask him if he's ever going to revisit this universe here in the apocalypse. I would love to see that again. I saw somebody post in Twitter recently, would you like to see Kurt Russell come back?
Oh, yeah.
For a Carpenter flick. And I think somebody said that they wanted to, finish off The Thing.
I think Carpenter's like in his 80s now, isn't he?
Somewhere around there.
He's like, I don't know if he's making movies anymore.
He's got a podcast now or something.
Or he does.
He's doing short work or some sort of thing. Because I have to look at his.
It's hard for like an 80-year-old guy to direct a movie. I mean, that's a lot of work. Let me see how old he is.
Wait, hold on.
Like 80
we got some comments. Eric is here. Oh, all right. Well, Eric is talking Prince of Darkness. He doesn't know what we're talking about. He
Eric's like, let's get on track here.
Get it together, man. I'm not, I'm just not here just to hang out.
Okay, I'm wrong. Carpenter is 73.
Oh, okay. That's still a spring chicken, too.
So he's got like maybe one more movie in him.
He's got more than that.
Yeah.
So Carpenter with an Alice Cooper cameo. That's right. I was sold when I first heard it.
That's it.
And Eric says Carpenter gets tired of talking about Halloween, but if you get him talking basketball, he'll talk your ear off.
Oh, that's cool.
Eric's giving us the key to get in.
And that's what I meant by like these guys sometimes just talk about normal stuff. Like how many times does Carpenter get asked about Halloween? I'm sure he's so done with it. How many times does he get? I wonder how many times he gets asked about Big Trouble in Little China, though. Okay. Probably not as much as Halloween or The Thing, or I guarantee nobody's talking to him about Starman.
Well, so, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you. I would ask him about Prince of Darkness. This is actually my favorite Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, we were starting off saying that, it's been 5 years since The Thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, this is Carpenter's first indie movie. He moved away from studios.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, and this is the first indie film I think he had made since Escape from New York.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Did he do before Prince of Darkness? Was that he did Starman, right? That was his big Hollywood one.
I think so. Yeah.
And
he had I think he had a horrible experience working with studios.
Yes, he did.
They're just, I think it's extremely painful for him. And I think a lot of Carpenter movies, they're kind of ironic because they die this very quick death at the box office. They're not, they rarely if ever are successful at the box office, but thanks to the release, I guess, back in the day of the old VHS tape, they live again. And, that's kind of why we're here now, because if this had come out, 10 years before that, if he had just tried to do this in the 70s, who knows if it would have had, quite the same impact.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think Carpenter's, even to this day, is still very maybe underrated in the major circles. He's not a whoever the big directors are right now. He'll never be a Spielberg or any of those guys. I don't think he wants to be. But
no horror director is thought of that way, really. I mean, can anybody name one? I can name directors who have made fantastic horror films, like Friedkin.
Oh, yeah.
You can talk about Friedkin, or you can talk about Spielberg, who's made, top horror movies.
Yeah.
I think maybe the closest you could get to it might be Ridley Scott.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, Carpenter, I think, he gets kind of unfairly kind of underestimated a lot because he has his niche, and he's outside of the.
Well, that's what horror is.
I know.
Horror is outside of the mainstream, we, as horror fans, it's a narrow, but it's a deep, sort of reservoir. That it's not for everybody. We kind of they're like, oh, you're a horror fan. Yeah, I'm not watching that. No thanks. Okay.
Although, when Carpenter did They Live was #1 at the box office.
That's right.
Weekend. And even to this day, or at least, a few years ago, he was still amazed at that. It was #1 the opening weekend.
Well,
that's a cool one.
That and Big Trouble in Little China are his cult favorites.
Yeah. And again, Big Trouble in Little China didn't do well when it first came out.
No, it was a flop.
Yeah,
it was a flop.
Well, but it's funny because if you ever listen to I have the DVD, and the commentary by Carpenter and Kurt Russell is great because these guys are just laughing their heads off through the whole thing. And that's what Carpenter said. He said nobody understood it. He said because the marketing was bad. He said the studios purposely marketed it bad because they didn't care about it. They didn't care. They didn't want it to make money. So there's like pictures of like Jack Burton with his son, like, who is he? They're like, well, who gives a shit? Because like they're not, nobody's going to see it. So I mean, it was purposely. It was almost like it was sabotaged from the beginning. And it's a shame, but I think They Live is a good one, and I think he might have bounced. Was that before or after Prince of Darkness?
I think it was after. They Live was 88 and Prince was 87.
Well, and you also have to think too, when he did They Live, I mean, he had Roddy Piper was big in WWF at the time too, so that was a big
draw.
Yeah,
it was.
Big draw.
Yeah,
it was a big draw, and that was probably one of the first times you had seen a professional wrestler crossover. I think Hogan may have done that one, No Holds Barred, but it was
He was Thunderlips.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Rocky 3. Yep.
Okay,
but
right.
I
mean, in terms of a starring role.
In
terms of a starring role, and that was a reasonably dramatic performance that he put in.
Yeah.
That was decent.
But see, Piper wasn't playing a wrestler. That's the thing. Hogan played just a wrestler, so he wasn't. I mean, Piper
played against type, because he was playing a homeless man, who's just down on his luck.
He's probably the first wrestler that did play against type. You know,
it's true.
Well, no, actually, up. Andre the Giant in Princess Bride. He played against type. All
right. That's in the Princess Bride, for God's sake.
Uh-oh.
Princess Bride. Fuck's sake. That movie drives me crazy.
It's a great movie.
Stop.
There were a number of movies that came out back then. You had Lady Hawk, I think, with Rutger Hauer. I think you had Willow with Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Princess Bride. And there was another one. Legend is my favorite.
Legend's awesome.
Ridley Scott with Tim Curry, and you almost forget that Tom Cruise is in that. It's one of those movies.
Absolutely.
Okay, Eric is like from Princess Bride to Prince of Darkness. Okay. That's what we need to do. Okay,
let's get back on track here.
Yeah, let's get. We never got on track. We'd have to get back on, for God's sake.
All right, here we go. Prince of Darkness. Here we go.
So this came out. Big Trouble in Little China was another box office flop. So he moves away after Starman and gets back to the indie circuit. And he wants to get this movie that is just full of like dread and very atmospheric, which I think he kind of succeeded with this. It's considered the least of the the three movies, but it's my personal favorite. Maybe because in a way for me, it's kind of the darkest. It's in terms of the subject matter that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's got a really, again, we talked about this last week. He's able to find really solid actors.
Oh my God. Isn't that the truth?
He's got Donald Pleasance, who just sort of automatically brings some gravitas to any particular role. He's got Jameson Parker, who is not very well known, but he was in a television sitcom back then called Simon and Simon with Gerald McRaney. They were detectives. Yep. You got Victor Wong that he had worked with before.
Dennis Dunn.
Dennis Dunn.
Dennis Dunn is the man.
You got Lisa Blunt. So it's quite a little, ensemble. You've got Alice Cooper as a cameo. Alice Cooper wandered on stage and said that he was just interested, and he spoke to Carpenter. He just wanted to look at the special effects.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, Carpenter thought he would be really good as the leader of these, sort of possessed, homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
My preference. Let me ask you this. What's your preference? And I think I already know the answer between the three of you. And I'll start with Ryan and then tonight. What's your preference? Is it the cult faves like Big Trouble in Little China and They Live, or is it the Apocalypse?
I think for me personally, I would go with my preference would be the cult phase. Because Big Trouble in Little China is one of my all-time favorites. They Live is a great one. The Thing is probably my third favorite Carpenter movie. I'll admit I'm not as versed in Carpenter. I haven't seen all his movies. I haven't seen The Fog. I've seen bits and pieces of I've seen enough of the original Halloween to know what happens. I've never seen that other Starman. I haven't seen
Ghost of Mars.
No, I haven't seen Ghost of Mars.
Ghost of Mars.
I've seen I have Escape from New York. I've seen that. I haven't seen The Fog or Assault on Precinct 13 or any of that.
That's solid.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
that's a solid movie, man.
Yeah. So I mean, again. I'm coming at Carpenter from the cult favorites, from the pleasers. But this one, again, Prince of Darkness, this was the second time I saw it. And I was just thinking that earlier, what a weird concept. And how original, though. Could you imagine? I could only imagine the pitch meeting for this movie. Hey, we got this movie where Satan is this green antimatter that's being held in this church. And I could only imagine the people's faces I mean, but it's just such a strange concept. But that's what I like about it is that Carpenter, it always has his stamp on it. It's definitely a Carpenter movie. The premise is so out there, but he makes it work. I mean, it's just such a goofy. We got this green Satan goo in this church, and it's getting out, and Satan has a dad and all this other stuff, but you buy it. He makes it in the realm of the movie.
He sells it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knight, what's your pick? Is it more the Apocalypse? Do you lean more towards the cult favorites?
Well, I mean, Carpenter is definitely one of my all-time fave directors. So I've seen all the movies, and I love them all, to such a high degree. But I mean, I lean towards the Apocalypse movies more so than the cult. But I love Big Trouble. I love They Live. We just talked about that the other night. But the Apocalypse movies, obviously, The Thing being at the top for me. But Prince of Darkness, I've watched that movie so many damn times, and I just love it. And like Ryan was saying, the concept is so wacky. I mean, you're dealing with this whole religious and spiritual thing, but it's rooted in science, and it crisscrosses. And it's it shouldn't make sense. When I'm watching it, some of it is kind of a little hokey, but like you said, he's got the right cast. He's got the craftsmanship to sell it to you. And so for that hour and 40 minutes or so, you're just sucked into that world. And it's just crazy.
It's this idea that somehow science has now reached the point where it can explain what religion can't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is one of the holdover concepts from the movie, which was that, from the translations in the books that they discover, that, they were simply waiting for that moment in time where humanity could explain exactly what was happening, sort of in layman's terms.
Right. And you have the greatest opening in film history. I mean, the opening credits last for like 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The music is just it's just this unrelentingly grim sort of thing that, you don't get a break from it. And so by the time it does end, you find that you've sort of adjusted to, because I realized that when Ryan and I were watching it, and I'm like, man, this just goes on and on and on. Like, you're not getting away from this.
Doesn't he do his own music? I think he plays his own music for all his movies, which is cool.
He did this. He did this score.
Yeah.
He did this particular score. Yep. But like The Thing, you've also got a loosely assembled group of people who you, as the audience, and in particular in this movie, they don't know each other very well. It's this sort of ragtag group of people that have been thrown together. Again, like we talked about last week, in this very Lovecraft kind of way, where there are these horrible things that are just outside of your viewpoint, outside of your range of view.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I was just thinking about this with the guys not knowing each other. I have to say, one of my, and maybe I'm reading into this wrong, but in this movie, I felt with some of the characters, there wasn't a lot of character development. It seemed like there were some characters who were just basically red shirts, so to speak, like in Star Trek, who were just there to be victims later on. Like, we knew nothing about that poor nerd who got stabbed by the bicycle by Alice Cooper. He's like, I'm going home, and then and that's it.
But you don't know anything about any of them, really.
No, I know, but I mean, it was kind of like
it's also a bigger group. Much bigger.
It's a bigger cast, and I think, like, in that sense, like, you don't really feel like, I guess you don't really feel like, I didn't feel like, he got killed. Like, like it's not like in The Thing where, like, these guys are real 3-dimensional kind of characters. Like, you could tell who the main characters were in Prince of Darkness, and then who, like, the supporting people were, like the red shirts and stuff. I mean, they just, these guys are over, they gave some characterization to who was the guy who, the one guy I actually genuinely felt bad for was, who was the guy that was possessed and he had his throat cut and he had it wrapped around he had the thing and he kept laughing.
Calder.
Calder. Yeah.
Like, I felt bad for that guy because he was like, him. There he is. He was like a decent guy, and like you could really see him struggling against it. Struggling against what happened to him, and he tried to kill himself, and you're like, oh crap, he's still not dead, and we actually liked him as one of the secondary characters. I thought he was that actor. I don't really know I don't know that actor or what he's done, but I thought he turned in a really good performance.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and I like I said, he's one of the few characters who I genuinely like felt bad for, because you could tell that he doesn't want to be in that situation, and it just sucks, and there's no way out for him. Yeah,
it doesn't assimilate people like it did in The Thing. It just completely erases them.
Yeah.
It's just it's a rough story. You've got, again, the themes of isolation. These people again are cut off.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very small group of people, some of which get eliminated like right off the board.
Yeah.
But they end up becoming, like The Thing, the opposition. So, you don't necessarily sort of do away with, people like you kind of did in The Thing with the flamethrower or something like that. These people are later coming back trying to, assimilate you.
Well, and also this is a different kind of entity that they're fighting. I mean, this isn't an extraterrestrial. This is the devil, essentially.
Well, and that's again, it's another unseen thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh
and the thing was a microbe. Here, I mean, this is even smaller. It's the concept that there's a mirrored universe out there.
Yeah.
This sort of antimatter universe. So, there's like an opposite for every particular thing. And so it's ground down into the subatomic particles. I mean, it's sort of interwoven into reality itself. And it's always, and the scary thing is for me, is that it's sort of always been there. And that's what I mean about like the Lovecraft comparison.
Mm-hmm.
All of the creatures that exist in Lovecraft have always been there. They've just always been sleeping.
It's definitely,
or just waiting for when the time has come for them to rise again.
It's definitely Lovecraftian. It's definitely got some Lovecraft undertones and themes in it,
Yeah, I mean, I think they said that the timestamp on that lid was like 7 million years.
Yeah, that's
something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just
when you see the realization that they go through when they start to translate the text and all of that, and it's like they start to realize the weight of what you're talking about. It's like this has always been here. And there's nothing what can we do? How can we get through this? And I think a lot of the actors were really, really good. Jameson Parker was really good.
Yeah.
Just sometimes the little looks that they gave, it seemed like they were it was just so tragic.
Because it's a lot to I mean, it sort of undoes, what the Western understanding of religion is.
Yes. Yep.
There isn't exactly there isn't really a counterbalance. Like there isn't really a God necessarily in this narrative.
Mm-hmm.
There's only sort of, the evil.
Yes.
And this idea that, like Jesus was an extraterrestrial who came to warn people. So that completely undoes the Christian narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Who is there to represent for good? It's just these college kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of college kids that are thrown into the apocalypse, over the course of a long weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's scary as hell. And before you know it, probably half of them have been taken off the board before they really come to understand exactly what it is that's happened.
And of course, those visions too, man, that was some creepy stuff that they were having, all those futuristic visions.
Yeah. The idea that you could, and that was what was really scary to me, was that you might actually be looking at the Antichrist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that it has happened. Like that's what's going to happen. Like that's the future. That's where we're headed.
Yeah,
that was creepy.
I mean, which is about 12 years away.
Right.
You're seeing, these, sort of recorded images, like somebody sending a VHS, recording or, some sort of digital recording back at you, from the future, as to what exactly it is that's going to happen. And that is just, it's somehow you don't really see much in this movie. It's all just kind of implied.
Yes.
And somehow Carpenter makes that more effective than, showing.
Yeah.
Than sort of implying. I almost said, as opposed to like Tim Curry and as the Lord of Darkness, but those are apples and oranges. And, that's not an accurate comparison to make. That's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you just, these are shadowy sorts of things, and that, you probably really don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's rough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rough concept.
I think too, I have to say my favorite character is Dennis Dunn. I love Dennis Dunn in this movie. He's great. Wang. I love him as Wang in Big Trouble in China, but he's great in this. He has the best lines too.
Yes.
And I think he's I could be totally misinterpreting this, but the way I saw him was kind of as the eyes of the audience.
Yes.
Like, he's the benchmark character for the audience.
Yep.
Okay. See, I haven't seen The Fog.
You got to get to them. It's the first 5 minutes alone make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
John Houseman.
John Houseman, man, telling that scary story. Holy shit.
But I like but like Dennis Dunn, I think he's kind of the character that the audience can relate to. You know, he's our eyes. He's the guy that we root for, and I'm glad that he's one of the ones who survives at the end. You know, but he's kind of that. That's how I saw him anyway. Is that kind of character?
Yeah, you know? I agree. Yeah, and he was just kind of, you know, again, just he wanted to party over the weekend, and he's like, oh, I have to do this, and even when they had translated the text, and everyone is. You know, this and that, and Lisa Blunt was like, you know, so I guess it is old Scratch knocking at the door, and you know, just talking about Satan. And here's Dennis Dunn talking about the date that he gave up. You know what I mean? So you gotta love him. You really do.
He provided some much needed comic relief, because otherwise there's not much in there.
And which I like, because you know, I know we were saying this with The Thing. There's no happiness in that movie. There's no joking or fun moments. It's a very kind of really down movie. But but he provides some levity in there, which is good. And again, he's the, you know, he can't believe any of this stuff is happening. So as a defense mechanism, he's going to make
he's kind of in denial about the whole thing. And he does it in a way that's, you know, through the lens of humor. Which I think helps the movie. You know, it helps move things along. Damn, it's just a grim movie. I mean, I think I first saw it when it first came out. I mean, so that's been 34 years, and you know, I think I've owned it on every particular format. It's for me personally, it's the darkest of the three movies.
Okay.
Because people are left in this position of dealing with. You know, and I was saying in the Thing, it's not the devil, but here it literally is the devil.
Right.
You know, and you've got a bunch of college kids that are left in the position to deal with it. And the ironic thing is that Donald Pleasance's character he's kind of a coward. Ryan was talking about this when we were watching it. It starts out, I mean, when the shit hits the fan, he's the first one hiding, you know, behind the cover, you know. So so. You know, the person you'd think would be out there, you know, this isn't Max von Sydow from The Exorcist.
But I will say, though, I think, at least for me anyways, I thought that was kind of cool, because, you know, you go into this movie, especially if you're, you know, a fan of Donald Pleasance, and, you know, you've obviously, especially at this point, he'd already been in multiple Halloween movies.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, so you're used to him being, you know, the wise older guy that knows what to do. He saves the day if he has to. He doesn't run. You know, he doesn't run from Michael Myers. So in this movie, to see him in that role, like you said, where he's given the gravitas, and he's trying to educate people about what's happening, but he's also realistic, because, you know, he's an old priest. So, you know, he is going to run and hide.
And he's kind of a disillusioned priest, you know, which I thought was interesting about the character. Like when he's kind of lost his faith in God, and just like, he goes, there was that one speech he gave about like how didn't he like give some speech about basically how this was all just a show, and, you know, or something along those lines, where he basically he lost his faith, and there's no God and all this kind of, he just didn't believe in anything anymore.
Well, the conversation he had with Victor Wong was really, really cool, because, you know, you know, Victor Wong was, you know, coming from science, and Donald Pleasance is coming from, you know, religion. And they were both, they were kind of both wrong as far as what they thought was reality and so forth. And they were trying to meet in the middle, but they kind of were butting heads, you know. Donald Pleasance, he wasn't your prisoner, he was ours. It's like, good stuff.
Yeah. It really undoes everything that he thought was the truth.
Yes.
You know, everything on every particular level. But what I liked is that he was able to redeem himself, because I think ultimately he realized it was up to us. Like, nobody was coming to save them.
Right.
You know, and he has that moment while he's hiding, and he says, you know, he keeps saying it to himself, I could. You know,
yes.
I could go out there and fight, because I think he's waiting for like some cosmic entity, you know, God or whatever, to come down and save them, and he realizes no one's coming,
right?
You know, and he's like, I'm going to have to get out there, and then he actually does, you know, to the best of his ability,
With
you know,
axe.
what he can do, in that sort of situation, which. You know, I mean, you could make him Pope after that, as far as I was concerned. You know, I mean, he definitely held up his end.
Yes.
I think what really, hold on, we got Eric's here some more. I love when movies do a religion versus science idea. Yeah, man. You know, I mean, science actually explains what religion has been trying to explain. But I think, unfortunately, in this movie, it just... You know, it rips thousands of years of accepted truth apart, because, you know, this particular brotherhood, I think it was the Brotherhood of Sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't even, you know, relate this information to the Vatican.
Right.
You know, so this idea that for thousands of years, you know, Satan's been sitting in various basements.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a freaky thing, you know, like,
yes.
I remember a long time ago, I was watching the news, and this was like in 2007 or something like that. And somebody said, somebody was talking about bin Laden. And I guess they had somebody on there, and they said, well, my understanding is that we've had bin Laden for a long time. Like, this is, and it was, I guess it was conspiracy theory, whatever, but like he said that, and like everybody stopped talking. You know, so it was just like, no, you know, Satan's not out there somewhere. We've had Satan for quite a long time. He's been sitting here with us, you know, but the lid on the jar is starting to, you know, after 7 million years. And so, you know, it's that sort of level of undoing.
Yeah.
You know,
and he, of course, he always, Donald Pleasance, he always has those wonderful lines, because he's like, no prison can hold him any longer. Like,
which only Donald Pleasance could deliver, you know.
Donald Pleasance was in he was in a lot of dog movie. He was in a lot of bad movies too, because you know, you got to pay the bills. But he did the best he could with some of those parts. I mean, when you have Donald Pleasance in your movie, you're going to try to give him as much as you can. But I've seen him in some crap movies, and he just, you know, he's kind of like almost like jobbing it, but he still does the best he can with what he has. I mean, and then on the flip side, you get movies like this that are good, that he can really shine in. I mean, a little off topic for a minute. One of my favorite roles of his is in The Great Escape, where he plays Colin Blythe, the forger who's going blind. And he's fantastic in that part. And I like his relationship with James Garner, and how, you know, how he helps him to try to escape and stuff. And when he gets killed in that, you're like, oh man, because he's a cool character, and he gets shot down because he can't see the Nazis coming. Yeah, he really was. He was a really, really decent actor, and like I said, even in the bad movies he was in, he was like the standout, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. He loves the president. Yeah, he's kind of a scumbag president too, isn't he?
Yeah,
right.
He's kind of a scumbag president.
Yeah, he was.
I always forget he's in that.
Yeah. That's not when it comes to Carpenter movies, I don't watch Escape from New York all that often. That's not the. I usually go with these three. Or, you know, They Live or something like that. I'm not big on, was it Village of the Damned?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see that one.
I like vampires. Vampires. That's pretty good. I like James Woods' performance.
I saw the original Village of the Damned with Joe Sanders.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen the Carpenter one. I heard it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. And I didn't see. I didn't care for. Oh wait, I did see. You brought up Escape from New York. I did see Escape from L.A. That was rough.
Yeah, that was rough. That was a rough moment.
Eric had one here. Wait, No Love. Yeah, here we go. No Love for Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Oh, he did that? Wow.
Chevy Chase.
Yeah. No one remembers that one anyway.
Wow.
Well, you remember it. Okay, now we remember it. Okay.
Gosh.
That works.
Man.
That works.
Yep.
Memoirs of Invisible. That's quite a while. It's quite a while ago.
Chevy Chase, was he in that?
Daryl Hannah, isn't it?
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Daryl Hannah's in that one.
Yep.
That's an 80s movie.
It is.
Jeez.
It really is.
Wow. That's
okay.
Funny.
So we sort of get to the end here, and we aren't like taking this sequentially, but you know something? I mean, it's been 34 years, so we don't necessarily need to, do that. But we get to the end, and for me, I think what really seals this movie for me as my favorite is this scene.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That is probably one of the most grim things I've ever seen in film. And I remember I still remember to this day the first time I was sitting around watching it with some buddies of mine when this first came out, and I was just like, did she just get trapped in hell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and you get the impression she's getting pulled back.
Yes. Yep.
You know, and I was just like that's incomprehensibly awful.
Yeah, it is.
Like I had like that. You know, you see all these movies, and usually there's a happy ending. You know, even with The Exorcist, you know, and she does the little, Reagan doesn't remember, and all these sorts of things. The idea that someone would get stuck behind the door when Donald Pleasance finally throws the
axe,
and the look on her face when I think she realizes when the hand is getting pulled through, and it's like the realization that Donald Pleasance has is I could.
Yes, and she had this look on her face. Just some really nice little moments of acting where it was like a hesitation, but yet a determination, and yet the sacrifice. Like she knew she was going to make a sacrifice.
Yeah, and she's weeping and she's crying, and she's
Excellent
trying
point.
to work up the nerve. I remember seeing something like that once, where it was that show The Borgias, and the guy who played Ser Jorah on Game of Thrones. This guy, and he's being tortured, and they want him to confess, so he ends up confessing. But once it's over with, he recants the confession, and so they have to string him up again. And the way he does it is just, he's sobbing and he's weeping, but he's trying his best just to muster up, the courage to do what he knows is just going to be, horrible for him again, like any second now. And those two are the only two comparable things that I can think of. She knows that it's just, she's done for it, but she can stop it. And when she goes through it, I see that she's going to tackle it. I remember the first time, but then I didn't realize that they were going to break the mirror.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're not expecting that. Yeah.
Oh, no. And then you see her just fade away into the darkness, and it's awful.
Yep.
Then Eric says, "For everything, there's a star." let's try to be positive, Eric. Let's not talk about Star. You bring up Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and you're talking about Starman. You're the one who wanted to talk about Prince of Darkness. Good grief. So we come back, and it kind of ends, or we think that it ends, and then Jameson Parker starts to have the dream.
Yes.
And we start to see Lisa Blount now.
Yes.
Is, because Lord knows what must have happened to her over there, but the dreams start, and now Lisa Blount is leading this new version of the apocalypse.
Yes.
And we talked about in the last movie, did they manage to kick the can down the road? And so that's the great twist in the thing, and so there's always, was Childs, the thing, or, was McCready the thing? And, you don't know for certain. Here again, clearly they seem to have kicked the can down the road.
Yes.
But perhaps only managed to delay the inevitable.
Yeah.
Because now, Lisa Blount is over there in the future, and maybe she's been possessed, or she's leading the end of the world.
Yeah. Now,
and of course, you have that jump scare that he has.
The
Jameson
dream
Parker.
at the end. Yeah,
and it's like, wow. It was just a great way to end it, and then he's staring at the mirror, because he knows.
And then he puts his hand up to it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And what a way to end it, because again, like you said, just like with the thing, and as we get to Mouth of Madness, the question is, wow, what's going to happen, or what is destined to happen? It's fantastic.
And it's left ambiguous. Does he go through the mirror? What happens?
Yes.
Yeah. I never saw it that way. The way I saw it was that this is the hand from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's Jameson Parker's hand right there on the left. But in the mirror is the antimatter universe. And so the mirror image, and that sort of image from hell is, it's always looking back at you.
Yeah.
It always has been looking back at you, except now he's aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's his hand trying to contact and get through from the other side. Maybe that's the antimatter universe, that dark version of himself, trying to come through. Because now I'm sure that the other side is actively working to get through to this world.
Yeah.
Now, and that was just,
Did this movie, when it came out, I'm asking, did it have any backlash from the churches or anything, or was there about
no, it got pounded. It just got pounded in the reviews, like you're telling the Carpenter movie.
Because I don't know if the Catholic Church had a fit or whatever over it, but
no, I don't think it made a big enough of a stir. I mean, it wasn't like The Exorcist or or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's having a bit of a resurgence now. People are looking at it again, and they're saying, this is maybe perhaps his most underrated movie, which I would agree. I certainly think it's underappreciated.
Yeah,
it gets overshadowed by the big names. It gets overshadowed by the cult favorites. It gets overshadowed by The Thing. You'd be surprised how many people don't know about In the Mouth of Madness, or that that the average fan that he's actually created an apocalypse trilogy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most people just know about The Thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know that movie. Yeah, okay. I saw that once, or my buddy saw it, or this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like these movies are a handful of years behind The Thing, because of course The Thing had to go through that transition of gaining respect, and like you said, Prince of Darkness is 5 years after The Thing, so maybe in another 5 years or a decade, maybe it'll start to actually have some appreciation to it, because like you said, everybody knows about The Thing. And I think that's because it finally caught on home video and started to get the respect and accolades by so many, fans and people in the business. And hopefully Prince of Darkness will follow suit at some point, because it is a great movie.
Yeah, it is. Admittedly, I think Ryan pointed out there are a few plot holes in it. It's not. It's not quite. There's
not perfect. But
no. But it's still in terms of its atmospherics, in terms of its concept, in terms of its tone, and like you said, in terms of, it's kind of an original idea.
Yeah.
And that's what all three of these movies have in common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The way that Carpenter viewed the apocalypse. Through things that you can't see, microbes, subatomic particles, and then we start to get to, the real Lovecraft by the time we get to Mouth of Madness. And holy shit, that is that's something Lovecraft could have written himself.
Yeah.
Where you start to question what reality is.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is all stuff that Carpenter is interested in. I mean, he's always, I remember too, just for a second, going back to Big Trouble in Little China and the commentary where he was talking about how he loves all that kind of Asian culture and he loves the mythology and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so he really put all that into it. And then, of course, he was accused of being a racist. after, by some people, but but that wasn't his intention, obviously, was to be racist, but he really, like, this kind of stuff fascinates him, like about the antimatter and the microbes and stuff. So, where another director might be like, who cares? I mean, he did, this is personal stuff for him.
Well, like, he was reading, he started to get into theoretical physics.
Okay.
And atomic theory. So that's where this sort of idea came from. Which you're probably not going to find most directors. Just take on some light reading for what am I getting that on a nightstand? Let's get into that. And he's actually applied that here in a way that everyday people can understand it. I'm about as far from a science major as it gets.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But he does it in such a way that we can sit here for the better part of an hour.
Yeah.
And sort of discuss these things, and that's not a small accomplishment.
No.
Hold on, Eric's here again. I've seen In the Mouth of Madness a few times and still don't understand it. Can't wait for that discussion. That's the point. You are, as the viewer, are left to question what is real and what is not. And I think that's the same predicament you find the characters in.
Absolutely.
Their own part of reality. Hey, Trenchy's here. What's up?
Trenchy.
Only part of the Apocalypse trilogy I haven't seen. Oh, Trenchy, are you talking about Prince of Darkness or Mouth of Madness? Which one?
I think he's talking Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness? It's the one, well, I wonder. I mean, probably, I don't know. I'm trying to think of which is lesser known, but.
I mean, I've heard, it's funny because the first time I heard about this movie was on this website. I forget the name of it. I think it was called like Retro Crush. And they had this guy listed like the scariest moments in horror movies, what he thought were, and he mentioned that part with Lisa Blount coming out of the door at the end as one of, and that whole dream sequence of this mysterious character coming through. So that's how I had first heard about it. And, and then Mouth of Madness, I had never heard of that one, I think, not until Mike started talking about it, really. I knew it existed, but I had never really heard about it, as opposed to his other movies,
Yeah, Sam Neill is sort of known for, these Jurassic Park films and a couple of other things. And let's not even mention that third Omen movie, but geez. That
oh, really? Is that bad? I've never seen.
He's Damien Thorne in the third Omen movie.
I know.
He tried his best.
Yeah, he did. He didn't have. They didn't give. It's Sam Neill, so I never want to be disrespectful to Sam Neill. They didn't give him much to work with.
Right.
They didn't give him much to work with.
Horror movie that's very underrated. Event Horizon.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yes,
that's
Event Horizon.
Movie. That's sci-fi horror.
There's an idea, Mike, for a future podcast.
Sci-fi horror. Yeah.
That's a solid one.
No, there's another one he did even before that. It's called Possession.
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
I don't know that
that's a twisted movie, man.
It is.
That's a twisted movie.
Yeah, Sam Neill, he's done some good stuff in the genre. He really has.
And he's going to be coming back for more. I'll see anything with Sam. If Sam Neill's in it, I'll probably see it. No, I don't care if it's like the 7th Jurassic Park. Okay, I got to go see Sam Neill.
Yeah,
what's he going to do this time? I feel the same way. I feel the same way about Jeff Goldblum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if Goldblum's in it, all right, let's go.
Great. Yeah.
I was only disappointed in that last Jurassic Park that he was in it for such a short period of time.
Yeah,
he was only in it for like a minute and a half or something.
I know. I was like, you guys are wasting him.
Yeah.
He was in the beginning and the end, and he was basically like repeating lines from the first movie.
Something
about his chaos theory stuff. It's like he must have been like, all right, I'll do it as long as I don't have to be in the actual movie. But, Is he coming back for the new one?
I think Sam Neill and Laura Dern are. I don't know. I haven't heard about Goldblum.
Okay.
Have you, Knight? Have you heard about
I thought I heard that he was. I could be wrong on it, but you're right. Sam Neill and Laura Dern for sure. Yeah. And that'll be nice. That'll be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, now that they're out, now that the dinosaurs are out in the neighborhood.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's how that last movie ends. You're like, really? Did you just let her open that door?
Yeah.
I just hope that that it comes together really well, because the sky could be the limit, really. And especially bringing Sam Neill and Laura Dern back, and you've got Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. They've got great chemistry, so it could really be a fun movie.
And I think bringing Sam Neill and Laura Dern in too is a way to save, because that last movie was bad. I remember when Mike, remember when you and I saw it, and we thought that first like 10 minutes, we were like, dude, this is a good horror movie. And then all of a sudden it just goes off the rails with like the clone girl. It was like, oh my, that was rough. I was like, no.
What I think and what I hope for, although, I probably have a better chance of selling yesterday's newspaper, is that they find a good way to bring it to a close.
Yeah.
This is also a way to have a final fine movie with the original performers, which I love that first Jurassic Park movie. And the second one wasn't bad either.
And that movie still holds up. The CG, all that stuff is fantastic.
It does.
You've got solid characters from Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard from the new, sort of generation. And this will be a great way to sort of, kind of close the book.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that the suits are never going to let that happen.
Like
while I'm wishing for things,
I
might as well wish for that. Hold on.
Right.
Eric Sam was also stop it, man. He's like a heckler. He was after Chevy Chase, John Carpenter loved you.
Yeah, he did.
Carpenter
had his own stable of actors.
He did.
Like Mel Brooks had his own stable of actors.
Yep. And it was actually cool because you would see those guys in multiple movies, and you kind of felt like, okay, you felt like you had a relationship with these actors.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think I mean, Carpenter, he worked with Donald Pleasance in 3 movies. Kurt Russell, he did 3 movies with.
5
with Kurt Russell?
4 or 5. He did Elvis. He did The Thing. Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, and Escape from LA. So 5.
Oh, see that Elvis one, was that like a TV movie or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about Elvis. I never saw that. Yeah. And then he worked with Dennis Dunn and Victor Wong and
Tom Atkins.
Yeah, Tom Atkins. Yeah. So it was cool to see that. That's a sign too, I think, of a good director when you have like the same actors in your movies, like how Clint Eastwood would have a lot of the same actors in his Western films and stuff like that. Even in Dirty Harry, he always had Albert Popwell in there. And in all the Dirty Harry movies, Albert Popwell always played a different part. But I think that is, like you were saying, like it's a cool way for the audience to be like, oh, I'll go see this because these guys are in it. It's kind of a way to really get your audience in.
Absolutely.
And, it will be very nice just to be able to sit in a movie theater again. Now,
I know.
This 2 days from now, I think we've gotten it, and this is from HBO, but we have the new Conjuring movie.
There's a new one?
Yeah, the third Conjuring movie.
What's the time period of this one?
I don't know exactly. It's after the second one, I guess.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Which one did I see?
The second one. You and I went to see the second one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That first movie is just...
It's good.
It's good. And
then, when shit jumps off that cupboard, on those kids, I was like, oh my god! I was like, holy!
Now that scared the shit out of me. That other one's a spinoff, right? That Annabelle.
Yeah, that's a spinoff.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one of them passed away. I think both of them are dead now. But
Ed and Lorraine, they're both
Lorraine just passed away like 2 years ago or something, 3 years ago.
Yeah. Ed before that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
I was just saying. I think this is probably we've been going at it for over an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about memoirs of.
You definitely went on tangent.
Hold on,
Starman and Memoirs.
Yeah, Starman and Memoirs, and then The Princess Bride. Jesus.
Conjuring 3 is based on a murder trial.
Huh.
Yes.
In 1981.
Okay. I've heard good things about it so far.
Yeah, that's I think coming out on Friday.
Is it the same actors, Patrick Wilson?
Yeah, Vera Farmiga.
Vera Farmiga. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're so good together, man. They make the movies. They really do. Yeah. They're wonderful together.
That's cool. Oh, did he just time out?
He might have hit the wrong button. I've had that happen to me before. So now we will be taking over the episode.
Yeah, I don't know when Mike disappeared.
You'll be doing nothing of the sort. Stop that. There's so many Invisible Man references, man. I had to get out of here. I need some air.
I'll tell you what, though. Speaking of Invisible Man, the original is fantastic. From the 1930s with Claude Rains. The special the special effects for the time period are absolutely awesome. And that's a cool movie.
It is.
That's one of the Universal horror movies.
It is classics. Claude Rains.
But then I saw that really atrocious one. What was it with Kevin Bacon? Hollow Man.
Well,
there's a new one out now that came out last year. It's supposed to be like epic. I haven't seen it yet. It's on HBO.
I gotta admit, I enjoyed it. I really did. It's got Elizabeth Moss in it, starring in it, and they took it was a totally different take. So
it's kind of like Sleeping with the Enemy meets The Invisible Man, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like Sleeping with the Enemy meets
I'll tell you what,
with the Enemy.
I'll tell you what, man, her performance was fantastic. If nothing else, you can't deny that woman is a great actress and that she put in a really good performance in that movie.
No argument. I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah.
All right, so hold on, Eric's here one more time.
He's going to talk about Starman again.
Oh, no, the OG Invisible Man is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, good on you, Trent G.
I think that's the only Universal classic I don't own, because I recently just picked up Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I did for an episode, and I had never seen it. It's such a good movie.
I've still never seen that one.
It's such a good movie. Yeah, my very first episode was Karloff's The Mummy. And I was just, that's so fucking good.
And
it is.
In the sequel of Creature from the Black Lagoon, the original,
Revenge of the Creature.
Yeah, that is Clint Eastwood's first movie. He plays some background extra character, but he's in it. It was right because it was like 2 years before he did like The Man with No Name or something. It was like late 50s. So he's like credited as like a lab technician or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
And I have yet to see Creature, but the Invisible Man, I guess it doesn't show up on the with the other Universal monster sets because technically he's not a monster.
Well, you have to get to. I have them on the Legacy editions. Those. You have to get them. I have them individually
because it's really a sci-fi movie.
Right.
And I mean, I've read the book, the H.G. Wells book, but I guess that character, Dr. Griffin or whatever his name is, he's not essentially a monster per se, like Wolfman and Dracula and the other guys. So he doesn't qualify in that respect as a universal monster.
But it's still a horror classic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, he goes nuts and like murders people and stuff. So that's that fits. But
that qualifies. Yeah.
Yeah. But that scene of him in the original, just taking the bandages off his face, and for like 1936 or whenever, that was really done well. Like you can't tell that, like however they filmed it, it was really done well. It was really pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
all right, I think this is as good a place as any to wrap it up.
That seems like it.
If you catch this on the replay, please like the video. If you think it's worthwhile, subscribe to the channel. That's always cool. I always appreciate the support. Knight, if somebody's from outside your circle sees this, do you want to tell them where to find your stuff?
You can find me on YouTube at The Night Watch Zone. And,
all right.
Yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right.
And you can't find me anywhere except on here. I'm just a regular schmo who likes movies.
So yeah, you gotta some writing or something. You gotta get some content coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow, and I think we're starting the Scary Summer series. Ryan had a really good idea for a summer theme. He was talking about Jaws, but I think that summer is just period. It's a good time for checking out certain types of horror movies that have to do with summer, and we're kicking that off tomorrow with From Dusk Till Dawn.
Nice.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Knight. Thank you, Ryan, one more time.
Right,
and
thank you.
All the best, everybody.
Cool.
Take care now.
See ya.